Hi, students and parents. My name is Chloe, and I have been tutoring students on the SAT and ACT for about 15 years and MCAT for about 8 years. I often get asked, why should I still take the SAT or ACT when schools are going test optional? Well, what if I told you that these scores alone can earn you some scholarships? That's right, just your SAT or the ACT scores. We're not talking about GPA or extracurricular activities or astounding leadership resume. So let's talk about the National Merit Scholarship first. Every year in October, juniors take the PSAT. And if you score top 1% of the scores that year in your state, you earn $2,500 in scholarship money from the foundation itself. And that's about 7,500 students across the country. Well, then there are some universities outside of the foundation that will award students based on where you end up in the National Merit Scholarship. For example, Washington State University will offer full tuition for students who are National Merit semifinalist. And if you're National Merit finalist, University of Alabama will offer full ride as well. Well, if you are also a finalist, the Loyola University of Chicago will also offer you $2,000. So this is just based on one exam, the PSAT alone. All right, so let's talk about other universities that offer scholarship dollars. So for example, Texas Tech will offer $1,000 up to full tuition if your SAT score, now this is the lowest requirement, so you have to keep in mind, obviously, higher the score, higher the opportunities, right? So with the SAT, their lowest requirement will be 1,000 and ACT is 19. And the scholarship dollars, like I said, will range from $1,000 up to full tuition at Texas Tech University. That's just, again, based on the test scores alone, right? Let's talk about the University of Missouri. Now this is where, when you're doing your research, you have to be more thorough and detail-oriented depending on where you live. Some universities will offer different scholarship amounts based on whether you're resident or a non-resident. So for example, if you're a resident of Missouri, University of Missouri will offer scholarships for ACT scores of 21 and above, SAT score of 1060 and above. And it can range from $1,000 up to full scholarship. And if you're non-resident, which means if you do not live in the state of Missouri, their minimum requirement for ACT is going to be 23 and SAT is going to be 1130. So this is where you have to do that additional research, right? Similarly, at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, the minimum requirements are ACT 28 and SAT 1300. If you are an in-state student, you can earn up to 9,000, so anywhere between $3,000 and $9,000. And if you're out of state, somewhere between 10,000 and 18,000, right? So these are all great opportunities, whether you are considering schools that are within the state of where you live or outside of the state where you live. Okay, so we've only discussed so far the opportunities that exist with just the test scores. Well, if you're willing to be adventurous and flexible and consider scholarship opportunities that combine your test scores as well as your GPA, now you've opened another door for yourself. So for example, at the University of Texas Arlington, if you have a GPA of 3.5 and over, SAT of 1100 or ACT of 22, you can start at $600 of scholarships or up to full tuition. At the Florida Gulf Coast University, your GPA of 3.5 and ACT of 25, SAT of 1220, again, is a starting place where you can get scholarship dollars. Notice how these test scores aren't 36 out of 36 for the ACT and 1600 out of 1600 for the SAT. They're not looking for perfect scores. They're not looking for 4.0. There are plenty of opportunities for students who are top 10%, top 5%, and have found academic success, right? Now, let's become really adventurous here. Scholarship opportunities based on your test scores also exist outside of universities. So I'm from Chicago, so I have to include the Oprah Winfrey Scholars Program. So the Oprah Winfrey Show, for those of you who know, used to be in downtown Chicago, right? So the Oprah Winfrey Scholars Program, their minimum requirements are ACT 26 and 1200 for the SAT. And of course, higher the better, since these are the qualifying scores. And Edinburgh Foundation Scholarship, the minimum scores are ACT 27, SAT 1240, and GPA of 3.75 or top 5%. So again, these are the scholarship opportunities that exist outside of universities through different endowment, scholarship foundation, and different corporate sponsorships. Kaminsky Scholarship Endowment, for example, this is where doing that extra legwork and doing the research that is a little bit more specific can also open up other opportunities. So the Kaminsky Scholarship Endowment is for chemistry or biochemistry majors. It is $8,000, and they're looking for students who have ACT of 28 and above or SAT of 1250 and above. So doing the research and being creative with your criteria that you're looking for, it can be, in this case, for example, your major, or it can be your ethnic background. It can be an interest. It can be first generation college students. So doing the research and looking into different opportunities, different requirements can be, it will be the first step. So let's talk about other tips and tricks that's going to help you to take advantage of opportunities out there that are strongly tied to your test scores. Okay. All right. So make sure that the scholarships are designated specifically for entering freshmen. So that means that you're not a transfer student. You are graduating high school this year, and you'll be entering that university as a first-time freshman. Okay. Also, like the examples that we talked about before, make sure that the colleges designate a difference between in-state and out-of-state applications. Sometimes the criteria of the score itself, the minimum score may be different, or the award amount may be different. So doing that research should be part of your first exploration as well. Also, please check the deadlines and other requirements. You want to make sure that if you're going to take the time and the energy and effort to complete an application, we want to turn them in on time. Be more flexible. Keep an open mind and research into schools that may be a little bit smaller, maybe slightly less known schools, right? These schools may not be your dream school that everybody's heard of, but many universities and schools around the country are trying to attract top class students like you with strong SAT and ACT scores. Well, and so for these opportunities, it's worth the time to investigate, right? And especially for those of you who are considering graduate programs like medical school or law school or even business schools, believe it or not, the name brand of your undergraduate degree has minimum impact. So it's not like you get 20 extra bonus points just because you went to Harvard, right? Because they're looking for students who are going to be academically successful no matter where you are and take full advantage of opportunities within the undergraduate that you went to. All right, so along the same line, look into private universities. Private universities have often this notion of, oh, they're going to be more expensive than public university. Well, that may also mean that they might have bigger and more scholarship opportunities, right? So keeping an open mind to go smaller and lesser known schools to explore what opportunities that they have and make sure that they're a good fit school for you as well. And then looking at private institutions may also be a good start as well. Okay, so let's recap what we talked about today. So SAT and ACT alone can earn you scholarships. If you are a rising junior and not a junior yet, the first big opportunity is going to be the National Merit Scholarship that is earned via the PSAT that takes place October of your junior year. There are universities that offer scholarships just based on your SAT and ACT scores. So those definitely want to keep in mind though, when you're doing the research to see if there's any difference between resident versus non-resident and other opportunities that way. Also, in addition to just the test scores alone, if we start incorporating your GPA into our application and to explore other opportunities, then there are other universities that will consider GPA as well and combine it with your SAT and ACT score into your scholarship opportunities. All right, let's get really creative here and go outside of what's available within the university and look for different scholarship programs, foundations, endowments, to see if they offer something that's very specifically aligned with your interests, such as your ethnic background, it could be your major. And so doing the research and being creative will definitely pay off in that area, right? All right. And again, keep an open mind. It doesn't have to be necessarily your dream school. There might be other universities that are lesser known and maybe smaller, maybe schools that you have never really thought about before that might be a great fit school for you and also offer scholarship opportunities just based on your SAT or your ACT score.